As you can see, I've already removed the piston and most of the associated stuff like the reservoir, but I have a few other things I want to pull off here, and then I'm going to see if I can polish the corrosion out of the bore. And if it's too deep, then I may have to sleeve this thing. I'm not too sure. So this is about as stripped down as I think this is going to need to be. Yeah, you can see how nasty it is in there. So, welcome back. I ended up sending the brake master cylinder off to a hydraulic shop to have it sleeved because the walls were just too pitted and corroded for me to do anything with. There was nothing I could do, and this company was able to put a stainless steel sleeve in there for me, and that is a much better solution than, you know, spending 70 bucks on a rebuild kit and then it not working because the walls of the cylinder are just too gummed up to use. Anyways, I'm really stoked though because this is the last piece in the puzzle, and after I install it and bleed the brakes, I should be able to take this thing for a test ride and see how it does. So now I've heard that bleeding the system manually can be a giant pain, so I'm going to use my power bleeder here, and conveniently this cap is the same size as for my 2002 turbo over there. So I've already got the adapter figured out here, and right now I'm just making sure that it holds air pressure, because if it holds air pressure then it'll hold hydraulic pressure. So that's all good. It's been sitting for a few minutes and it hasn't lost any, so now I'm going to bleed some fluid into this thing. So apparently .3, .4 non-synthetic, non-silicone is really crucial to use with airheads. So that's what I'm going to use here. Alright, we're looking pretty good, so I'm going to go ahead and depressurize. So one thing that's tricky about these master cylinders, at least from what I've been reading, is an air bubble tends to get trapped at the switch here. So the best way to get rid of that, at least that I can tell, is to actually tilt the master cylinder up like this and then kind of squeeze the brake like this until you see some bubbles coming up out of the reservoir. Alright, now that I have the master in its final resting place, I'm technically supposed to use a specialty tool to do this. It's a little fork-shaped piece that is supposed to go between this surface of the master cylinder and the back end of the piston right here, but I don't have that fork, so I'm just going to use 2 feeler gauges, which are equivalent to 46 thousandths, 0.046, and what I'm going to be doing is adjusting this knurl here to make sure that the piston is in the proper place. This procedure isn't to get the right amount of play in the bars, it's to get the piston where it's supposed to be. Then I can play with the bars if I need to. So you can see I'm just checking the clearance like that across the fascia of the master. Needs to be just a hair tighter. There we go. That feels pretty good. And then I'll give it a couple squeezes and see how we did. That feels pretty good, man. And now that I've got it where I want it, mine didn't actually have a lock nut on it. So I actually just chopped up a rod bolt nut for a BMW 2002, and that fits perfectly because it's M10 by 1. It's almost time to finally take this thing out on its first maiden voyage. I've been so excited to do this. But first, there's a couple other things I want to check. So I already know the turn signals are good and everything. The tires are good. They both have pressure, which is amazing, and they're brand new. So lucky. I mean, just beyond lucky. Engine's leaky, but it's got oil in it. But real quick, I want to check the final drive level and the gearbox level. See how the transmission looks. Look at that. That's brand new oil. I think it's going to be roadworthy, and I am just too excited to wait any longer, so that was so much fun, man. I had an absolute riot winding this thing out a little bit and getting a feel for it. The responsiveness of this bike is just not something that I'm used to, and it's so interesting. I've ridden you know, transverse mounted engine bikes before and felt the crankshaft weight as it's coming around when you rev it up, and this one is definitely the most noticeable out of the bikes like that I've ridden. But it's so cool to rev it and the bike kind of twists under you. The braking performance feels pretty good, but I gotta say it's a little bit underwhelming. So if you run into the same situation as me, where you have the option to either rebuild the brake master that you have or upgrade, if I were to do it again, I think I would upgrade. And it's actually pretty zippy. I didn't think it would be as fast as it is. Another thing I wasn't expecting is the engine is a 900cc, which is supposed to have a 5-speed mounted behind it, but I can only find 4 gears. Maybe I'm just an idiot and I lost a gear, but this thing seems to have an R90/6 engine with a 4-speed, so I don't really know what's going on there. But I don't care, it cruises just fine. I'm sure it'll be fine on the highway too. 4th gear is geared pretty tall. I want to thank everyone for tuning into this project, and I can't wait to put out the next video about this bike. Stay tuned for the next installment of the $5 Airhead project.